How much longer can we go before fans start to care less about their team?
Is it really hurting the college football fan?
It was always about ball, all the business surrounding ball.
They lost and the players won.
But if you're in the mix and winning at a good clip, I don't think any of this stuff matters.
The love of college football on game day has always got to be at the forefront for me.
They're not going to care as much when they don't know the names on the back of the jersey. Ultimately, the name on the front of the jersey matters most.
We are headed down to Atlanta for SEC Media Days immediately following the show. And the topics, the discussion, the questions for Greg Sankey, the big headlines will be all business. It will be about NIL and a 16-team playoff and expansion, and whether or not we're going to have auto bids, and how much the players need to discuss having a CBA or a union, court rulings, injunctions, all of this off-season headline and news. It's warranted. It affects the future of the sport as we know it. But the love of college football on game day has always got to be at the forefront for me. And as long as it still feels the same whenever we, kick off on Saturdays in the fall, Chad, I don't think I'm going to hate all of the changes, all of this mess that is, quote unquote, ruining the sport. Maybe it ends up doing that, but I still feel the same way at 2:30 Central Time on a college football Saturday in the SEC. And as long as it still matters, I mean, is it really hurting the college football fan? It's not hurting me yet. Maybe it does.
So, Hutton, I started going to SEC Media Days in 2005, so 20 years ago.
Yep.
I was going to this event, Hoover, Alabama, Winfrey Hotel in the lobby. You've been there. We were there for years. It was very standard. Every year it was a rite of passage. Getting ready for football season, that was the first indicator that football season was close. Fall camps were starting right after that. You were getting ready for the college football season. In those SEC media days of years past, it was always about ball. It was about ball, but it could be about Philip Fulmer being served a subpoena by Alabama. It could be about other things. Off-field arrests were always a big talking point.
Yes.
If a team had a lot of issues, there were all of these different things that could be going on around the program, but ultimately it was, here's a quarterback battle. Here's a Heisman hopeful to talk about. Here's a coach on the hot seat that's got a big first month of the season ahead. Let's talk about ball. We're about to embark on a trip to SEC Media Days in Atlanta, not the Winfrey Hotel, not there, and we're not going to be talking about ball. We're going to be talking about transfer portal. We're going to be talking about NIL Go. We're going to be talking about, maybe some coach on the hot seat type talk, but it's mainly going to be about all the business surrounding ball. And that's not good for the sport. I do think that on Saturdays you tune in and you like what you see. I saw that a year ago. I've seen that throughout. But how much longer can we go before fans start to care less about their team? I do think that the turnoff factor is way quicker when you don't recognize players in the field, because the transfer portal is so rampant. Guys are there for 1 year and done. They're leveraging themselves to get more money elsewhere. So when you're looking out there saying, who's this guy, who's this, who's that? We've talked a lot on this show about, I don't even look at rosters or depth charts until August when I know everything's locked in. I'm not looking at incoming freshmen because who knows if they're going to be there for their sophomore year. That will hurt the sport. If Bo Jackson played at 4 different schools and wasn't known as an Auburn legend, that would hurt the impact and effect of all 4 of those programs, because it would be very odd. We've entered an odd time in college sports for that reason, Hutton, and I think the biggest thing that they need to get their hands on is the transfer portal and having some sort of 2 or 3 year restriction that when you sign with a school to make money, I don't think it's the money that's affecting the viewing experience of the fans.
No.
It's not that the quarterback's making a lot of money. That quarterback's not playing worse than they were before. I don't think that hurts the fan experience as much as an open transfer portal.
Not in this conference.
No.
Not in this conference, because fans are lining up to pay the quarterback to stay or the quarterback to join. Charge us the extra 10%. We want the best players here.
Yeah.
I think where it does matter is...
But what the fans would want is stay here for 3 years. We're going to pony up and pay you, but we want a 2 or 3 year commitment from every player, so we're not having to roster manage every single season with everybody coming and everybody going every year.
And so with that comes the business. You've got I think you've got to have the sport. You've got to have the player union. And I don't know, I don't know where you start that. Who's the person at the forefront of that union with the vast number of players that would represent the College Football Player Association. There's a ton of players at a very different pay scale across college football. That's tough to figure out. And then you have this, you've got the NIL Go system and this sports commission and the clearinghouse and everything involved in this where, Chad, I've said it before, I just don't think this holds up. Where you have a commission, a governing body telling a group of players, no, you can't do this or you can't go make money doing that. When we just went through this, where it lost in court, where you had a system in place that stepped back and said, the conferences will handle it. Your individual university will handle it because we're getting sued and we're losing and we're tired of the lawsuits. I don't blame the NCAA for that. But in regards to just what's fair and what's not, they lost and the players won. And that's where we are right now. So while you've got, roughly 1,500 deals have been cleared in the month or so since we've got this new system in place. And you've got financial figures that are in the hundreds of thousands, but they're also been denying things that don't serve a valid business purpose. Who determines that? I think that we head back to the courts when it's all said and done. Again, I understand the thought process here. I agree with it. If the car dealership wants to pay the quarterback $1 million to show up for an hour and sign autographs, that's not the going rate for what that would cost, right? The NFL player, for instance, is showing up and probably getting up several $1,000s, but not $500,000 or whatever it would take to kind of throw it under the rug and get the quarterback to go there. I get that. But what's fair market value to the quarterback? Whatever the dealership's willing to pay you. That would be my argument to it. And I don't know how you argue that for what's a proper or a valid business purpose when it's all just put on the table, but like we've seen. That's the confusing part of it. And I guess that's the discussion this week at SEC Media Days as they kick things off unofficially to the season. But when we kick things off officially, I really don't think much about it. I may ask myself, what's Jalen Milroe last year? I wonder what he's getting paid. But I, in general, don't think about it when Jeremiah Smith is making a big touchdown grab. When we'll see Ty Simpson. What's he getting paid to stay there for 3 years? Yeah, and finally get his opportunity. I'm thinking more about that story than I am what's he getting paid from our guys, our friends down in Tuscaloosa at Innisfree.
If you're no doubt, a lot of perks at Innisfree. If you are a fan of a team that's doing well and meeting expectations going into the season, whatever those expectations are, whether it be get to a bowl game or get to the college football playoff. But if you're in the mix and winning at a good clip, I don't think any of this stuff matters in season, right? You're not sitting there, stressing over the transfer portal that's upcoming. You're not stressing over how much the edge rusher's making. You don't care about any of that. You're watching ball. You're reading about ball all week. You're watching shows like this, talking about ball all week. You're ready for college football Saturday. But I do think that when you start 2-2 or 1-3, then the turnoff factor is so high, and all you're thinking about is, okay, who could we go get in the portal? How do we get rid of these guys who aren't doing the job and go get a bunch of guys who are doing the job? 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was, we're young. Okay, this is a growing year. Look at all these freshmen that we had in this top 15 class that's going to get better and more seasoned in the offseason and come back and be better. And next year, this team can go 8-4 or whatever the goal is. It's far less of that and far more of, okay, these guys aren't getting it done, kick all them out, get a bunch of guys from a different level or another rival school, and then go to war again next year. Also, I don't care as much now because I don't even know any of these guys' names that are playing because they've been there for about 4 months before the season started, and that's it. It will negate the impact of fans across America. They're not going to care as much when they don't know the names in the back of the jersey. Ultimately, the name on the front of the jersey matters most. That's something an old coach would say. That's an old adage. That's true for the fan. If you're an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, you're going to root for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's what matters most. And you're going to root for whoever's in those uniforms. But when the whoever's in the uniform is someone that's anonymous, that you don't know because they've been at 3 different schools, I'm telling you, it's going to impact your desire to watch the games. And Hutton, great point on the non-valid business purpose deal that the College Sports Commission is arguing.
Yeah.
Because when they said that, the NIL collectives got together. They had their attorneys draft a letter to a judge that's basically saying you're in violation of the House settlement already. So we're off and running.
Yeah, here we go.
Right away. Without collective bargaining, College Sports Commission, not surprising at all, is saying this isn't valid, what you're doing with collectives. And the collective association is coming back and saying you're already in violation of all of these articles of the House settlement by even accusing us of not being a valid business.
Now wait until the players individually get involved, you know?
Yeah.
Chad, ahead of the SEC slate and with SEC Media Days upon us, big expectations for the conference. Let's just throw out what we expect to happen, what we would bet on going into the SEC season. And I'll kick it off by just saying I'm buying stock in 2 aspects of over-under win totals. I'm buying the over 9.5 wins for Alabama. I think you can buy low right now, and you get a even money back. I mean, I think it's minus 115 plus 115 right now, either way. And I'm buying Alabama over 9.5, one of the top defenses in the country. They will stay in games, if not win games early on because of that. I realize their slate includes Florida State, Wisconsin. They've got Georgia as their first game in the SEC. But they, according to Pro Football Focus, number 2 defensive line in the country, they have a top 10 player at every single position on defense in Pro Football Focus's rankings right now. That's the only team in America that can claim that. And on offense, what happens? Ty Simpson, I think, is the front runner there. He's a 3-year backup. Props to him. I love his story, when he didn't leave. You know, son of a football coach. He's a pocket passer. He's not Jalen Milroe. He's not going to hold on to the football. I think that could benefit Alabama, and I think that benefits DeBoer and Ryan Grubb's offense. Do I think he has instant success? No. But I think their defense does. And because of that, you know, give me Ryan Williams, the second best wide receiver in the country. And, I mean, they finished with less than 10 wins for the first time since 2007 last year. I like my odds of Alabama getting to 10 wins. At some point, I have to bet the under on Georgia. And this is the year I'm doing that.
Dangerous proposition, Hutton, betting against Kirby Smart.
Under 9.5 because Gunnar Stockton's a quarterback. That's really why I don't have faith in the Bulldogs. All 3 of their interior offensive linemen from last year are now in the NFL. They had some struggles at offensive tackle anyway last year. And Carson Beck's now in Miami. Their wide receiving core wasn't all that great a year ago. And they've gone to the portal for that, but I haven't seen it yet. And I've seen a very limited amount of snaps from Stockton, and they're running it back with him. I think they have a great backbone on defense. They're going to be fine there. They replace and reload. And you're right, Kirby Smart is the best coach going. They have Bama and Texas at home. They still play Florida and Tennessee. They have Auburn on their schedule. We know that. But given the 9.5 win total, after 4 straight seasons with double-digit wins, that's Vegas telling me they don't think they're getting to double-digit wins, and I'm going to take the under because of that. I think it's a tease to all of us who have been winning with Georgia. I think the win is with the under. That's my go-to. The top 2 teams in the conference that most would choose, Georgia and Bama over the last several years. I'm taking the over with Bama and the under with Georgia.
I'll be placing them bet, Hutton. I like that.
Oh, dude.
Carson Beck, all he's done is gone to Miami and had his Lamborghini stolen and broken up with his girlfriend. So it's been a tough go for him with the Hurricanes so far, too, since he got down to
I would
South
bet the
Beach.
over, though, if he were quarterback. I would.
To Coconut Grove.
Coconut Grove.
Yeah. If you hear, do you want to play in Coconut Grove, or like you're usually just going to take the Coconut Grove? Like whatever comes after or. with your decision making of playing
I wonder what his
somewhere in
condo's
school.
called. What's his $1 million condo?
Seabreeze. Welcome to Seabreeze 2. It's like all the condos in Panama City Beach that have like a number next to it, or Gulf Shores.
I'm gonna look this up.
This is Alabama Shores A. Alabama Shores B. Gulfstream 2. He's going to be in one of those condos. So I think there are 2 SEC teams, Hutton, that are squarely in the national championship or bust conversation this year.
Okay.
I believe there are 4 teams in college football that you can make the argument that anything short of a national championship will be somewhat disappointing. Sorry to Tyler Castle. I'm not putting Ohio State in this category this year because they won the national title last year, and they're loaded, but they're not quite as loaded as they were a year ago. I think Penn State is one of them. With Drew Aller at quarterback, if it's going to happen for James Franklin, this feels like the year it could happen for Penn State. They are a national championship-ready team with a national championship-ready schedule. Clemson is the second one. Clemson is the definition of favorable schedule mixed with a loaded roster that not many people are looking at right now. They're going to be looking at them after they beat LSU in week 1 because we know how bad Brian Kelly is in week 1 since he's been at LSU. The other 2 are SEC teams, Texas and Georgia. Texas and Georgia are both squarely in the, if we don't win it all, it feels like a bit of a disappointment. Not that the season is a failure or anything like that if they reach the Final Four, the national championship game, but I do think Texas and Georgia both meet that criteria of these are 2 teams that in the SEC, if they don't win the national title, it feels like a bit of a disappointment. Another thing, Auburn and Hugh Freeze. We're going to know Hugh Freeze's fate by October 1st. Auburn opens at Baylor. That is huge for Hugh Freeze and Auburn.
That's a very telling game for both.
Both coaches, right. For sure.
Yeah.
And Jackson Arnold, 5-star guy, top 5 national recruit, did not work out at all while he was at Oklahoma. Hugh Freeze thinks he has something in this quarterback. At Baylor, Ball State, South Alabama. 2-1 at worst right there. You're hoping to be 3-0. Then they play at number 25, Oklahoma, and at number 23, Texas A&M. If they could split those 2 on the road, you got something down in the Plains. If you open the season at that point, let's say 4-1, even 3-2, you're feeling good. But the likelihood of 2-3, very real for Auburn. If they lose that opening week game against Baylor, 2-3 looks likely for the Tigers to start the season. And if that's the case, I think we're going to know all we need to know about Hugh Freeze and his future at Auburn, which is going to be minimal at that point. So I'm going with that, Hutton.
I like that.
The Auburn storyline and mixed with those 2 teams in the SEC that they need to win the national title this year or they're not feeling great about themselves.
So he has
with those rosters.
He has Hugh Freeze has the same record right now as he has the same as Harsin, I think.
Yeah.
Through the same.
Yes. Yeah.
They're the exact same.
Which is nuts.
I know.
When you think about the expectation of, well, they got the guy. They got the guy who won at Ole Miss, that knows how to win in this part of the country, SEC guy. It has not worked out. And now they're just having articles published about how people believe he plays too much golf. That
When's
donate
the last
money at
time
Auburn.
they were in a bowl game?
Auburn?
Was it the Music City Bowl like a few years ago? It's been several years.
Let's
like
see.
3 years probably? It's been a little while.
Has Hugh Freeze been to one? They played Maryland in the Music City Bowl on 2023. So they just missed the 1 year. They lost to Maryland in 2023, December. And then they didn't play in a bowl in 2022, and they were in one in 2021. So this past year, they missed out on a bowl.
Two of the last.
They missed 2 of the last 3.
2 of the last 3. And that's Auburn trying to navigate the waters of getting back to being an SEC hopeful and prove that they're, among the programs that are at the top of the elite.
Well, someone that we're probably going to likely talk to in Atlanta, Hutton, in our show in a couple days will be Diego Pavia and Clark Lee. Diego Pavia is 2-0 against Auburn at Auburn. He beat them with New Mexico State and Vanderbilt. Here's a first step for Auburn. Go to Vandy and win this year. I mean, no one
November 8th.
No one circled that as just a huge do or die game, but that is a massive game for Auburn and Hugh Freeze. If they go to Vandy and win, that's a giant win for Hugh Freeze. Now, we don't even know if he's going to be the coach at that point based on the start of their schedule, but if he's still around and they're hanging on right around bowl eligibility, maybe 7 wins, circle that day, November 8th, Hutton. November 8th in Nashville, Auburn at Vanderbilt. Can Diego Pavia go 3-0 against Auburn? Will Diego Pavia be going for 4-0 or 5-0 against the state of Alabama at that point? Because Vandy visits Alabama. We know how motivated Alabama is after losing at Vandy a year ago.
Yeah. And there's the reaction of that game. Pavia, by the way, he won the Iron Bowl. Basically,
he did. Yeah, he took home the Iron Bowl.
A new casino game is all the rage, and it's going to apparently just sweep the country. That's next year on Hot Mic.